Let me tell you something I've seen play out in my exam room more times than I can count over the last 30 plus years. A man walks in, sits down across from me, and before he even says a word, I can see it in his shoulders. That tired, defeated slump. He's convinced something's broken inside him, that his best days are behind him, and that whatever's going on down there is just part of getting older. He thinks he needs a pill, an expensive procedure, or worse, he thinks he just needs to accept it and move on. And every single time I lean forward and I tell him the same thing. You have a lot more control over this than you realize. Sit with that for a second, because I mean it. I've been practicing medicine in Minnesota for over 30 years, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the body responds to what you feed it, be it good or bad, every single morning. Now, I want to be straight with you before we go any further. I'm not here to sell you some miracle powder or a bottle of something with a flashy label. I'm not going to tell you to drink 47 different smoothies a day or spend $200 a month on supplements you can't even pronounce. I know how that stuff gets thrown at you from every direction online, and frankly, I'm sick of it too. What I'm going to share with you today is simple. It's grounded in real research, and it works with something most of you already do every single morning without even thinking about it. You drink coffee, right? Of course you do. A good chunk of American men over 60 start their day with a cup of coffee. It's routine, it's comfort. It's that first quiet moment before the world wakes up. And here's the thing, that cup of coffee you're already holding in your hand is one of the most powerful delivery vehicles we have for compounds that can genuinely change how your body performs. Not in some vague feel-good way. I'm talking about real measurable changes in blood flow, hormone balance, and vascular health. So today I'm going to walk you through 5 ingredients you can add to your coffee. 5. That's it. And by the end of this, I'm going to tell you exactly how to combine them, in what amounts, and what to watch out for. Because I'm not going to leave you hanging with a bunch of generic advice. I've been doing this too long for that. Before we get into the list, I want to explain something that took me years to fully appreciate, and it's going to make everything else make sense. Erections at their core are a vascular event. I'll say that again because it matters. This is not primarily a hormone problem for most men, and it's not a psychological problem for most men either. It's a plumbing problem. Blood has to flow freely into the right place at the right time, and that depends entirely on the health of your blood vessels. The key player here is a little molecule called nitric oxide, or NO for short. Your body makes it, your blood vessels release it, and when it shows up, it signals the smooth muscle in your vessel walls to relax. When those vessels relax, they open up, blood rushes in, and things work the way they're supposed to. No nitric oxide, no erection. It really is that simple. It's simple at the biological level. Now here's where it gets interesting. As we get older, our bodies produce less nitric oxide. Our blood vessels get stiffer. Inflammation creeps in. Blood sugar starts bouncing around more than it used to. All of this adds up to reduced blood flow, and that's what most guys are really dealing with when they come into my office. It's not that you're broken, it's that your vascular system needs a little support, and that's exactly what we're going to give it. Let's start with the first ingredient, and this one might surprise you. Cocoa. Not the sugary hot chocolate mix from the grocery store. I'm talking about real unsweetened cocoa powder. The darker the better. Cocoa is packed with compounds called flavanols, and the research on flavanols and blood vessel function is genuinely impressive. These compounds boost nitric oxide production. They improve how well your blood vessels dilate, and they reduce inflammation in the vascular lining. I tell my patients to stir 1 rounded teaspoon of pure cocoa powder into their coffee each morning. Stir it well, let it dissolve. It gives the coffee a rich, almost mocha-like flavor, and most guys end up loving it. Just make sure it's unsweetened and ideally from a brand that preserves the flavanols during processing. Some of the cheaper cocos are Dutch processed, which strips out a lot of the good stuff. Look for natural or non-alkalized on the label. That's your clue. The second ingredient is cinnamon, but here's where you have to pay attention, because not all cinnamon is created equal. There are 2 main types you'll find on store shelves. Cassia cinnamon, which is the cheap stuff, the kind that's in most grocery store spice jars, and Ceylon cinnamon, which is sometimes called true cinnamon. You want Ceylon. The cassia variety contains a compound called coumarin in fairly high amounts, and too much of it over time can be hard on your liver. Ceylon cinnamon has almost none of that, so it's much safer for daily use. And I know the question that's coming. A gentleman asked me recently, how much cassia is too much? The answer is you don't want to be taking teaspoons of it every day for years on end. A sprinkle here and there isn't going to hurt you, but if you're going to make this a daily habit, spend the extra couple of bucks on Ceylon. Your liver will thank you. Why cinnamon at all? Because it helps regulate blood sugar. And you might be thinking, Doc, what does my blood sugar have to do with my erections? Everything. When your blood sugar is bouncing up and down all day, it damages the lining of your blood vessels over time. That lining, called the endothelium, is exactly what produces nitric oxide. Damage the endothelium and you've knocked out your body's nitric oxide factory. So managing blood sugar is basically protecting the very tissue that makes healthy erections possible. A quarter teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon in your coffee each morning is plenty. You don't need to dump the whole jar in there, stir it in with the cocoa. And you've already got a coffee that's doing more for you than anything you'd buy at a chain coffee shop. The third ingredient is Maca root powder. This one comes up a lot, and I get questions about where to find it. So let me address that right now. Maca is a root vegetable that grows in the Andes Mountains of Peru, and it's been used for centuries as a traditional remedy for stamina, libido, and energy. You can find it at almost any health food store in America these days, and plenty of online retailers carry it. Look for organic gelatinized maca powder from a reputable brand. Gelatinization just means they've removed the starch, which makes it easier on your stomach. What makes maca special is that it appears to support hormonal balance without directly messing with your hormone levels. It's what we call an adaptogen. It helps your body handle stress and find its own equilibrium. Several studies have shown improvements in self-reported sexual desire and performance in men who take it regularly. It's not a magic bullet, and it won't work overnight. But given consistent use over several weeks, a lot of my patients report feeling more energized, more interested, and more confident. 1 teaspoon of maca powder in your coffee, stirred in well, is the dose I usually recommend. It has an earthy, malty flavor that actually blends really nicely with coffee and cocoa. If you're just starting out, begin with half a teaspoon and work your way up, because some folks find it a little stimulating and you want to see how your body responds first. Now, before we move on, I want to address something head on because it's come up in conversations with patients and in the comments on videos like this one. I've had people ask, reasonably, whether any of this applies to women too. The short answer is yes. A lot of these ingredients, especially the cocoa and the maca, have benefits for women's vascular health and libido as well. I'll do a separate video on that topic specifically because women deserve their own conversation, not just an afterthought. But for today, I'm focused on the men because that's who's sitting across from me most often with this particular concern. All right, ingredient number 4, L-arginine, or better yet, L-citrulline. Now, these aren't something you're going to find at the grocery store spice aisle. These are amino acids, and they come as supplements, usually in powder or capsule form. I bring them up because several of my patients have asked about them after seeing them mentioned elsewhere. And frankly, they deserve a place in this conversation. Here's the thing. L-arginine is a direct precursor to nitric oxide. Your body literally uses it as the raw material to make NO. But here's the catch. A lot of L-arginine gets broken down in your gut before it ever reaches your bloodstream. That's why a lot of researchers now prefer L-citrulline, which your body converts into L-arginine, but with much better absorption. Now, I want to be straight with you. Adding a powdered amino acid to your coffee is a little different than adding cocoa or cinnamon. Some folks prefer to take it separately, mixed in a glass of water, about 30 minutes before their coffee. Either way works. The typical dose is about 3 grams of L-citrulline daily, or 6 grams of L-arginine if that's what you have on hand. Start low, see how you feel, and talk to your doc before adding it if you're on any blood pressure medications, because it can lower blood pressure. And that brings me to the 5th ingredient, which might be the most surprising one of all. It's not a spice or a supplement. It's something much simpler. Black pepper. I know, you're probably thinking, what on earth is black pepper going to do for me? Stay with me here, because this is one of the most overlooked tricks in nutritional medicine. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine. On its own, piperine has mild anti-inflammatory and circulation-boosting properties. But its real magic is what it does for the other ingredients on this list. Piperine dramatically increases the absorption of compounds like the flavanols in cocoa and the active compounds in cinnamon and maca. Some studies have shown absorption improvements of over 1,000% for certain compounds when taken with piperine. 1,000%. That's not a typo. So what I recommend is a small pinch, and I mean small, just a dash of freshly ground black pepper in your coffee, along with the cocoa, cinnamon, and maca. You'll barely taste it, especially with the other flavors going on, but it turns your coffee from a decent delivery system into a powerhouse. All right, so you've got all 5. You might be sitting there thinking, Doc, am I really supposed to set up a chemistry lab on my kitchen counter every morning? Do I need to measure everything with a scale and keep a spreadsheet? No, absolutely not. Let me make this as simple as I possibly can. Brew your coffee the way you normally do. In your cup, before you pour, add 1 rounded teaspoon of unsweetened cocoa powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of maca powder, and a small pinch of black pepper. Pour the hot coffee over it and stir well. That's your entire morning routine. It adds maybe 90 seconds to your day. And the L-citrulline, if you decide to add it, you can either mix it into the coffee or take it separately in water. That's the recipe. Simple, affordable, and built on ingredients you can get at any decent grocery store or health food store in America. Now, I want to take a minute to talk about what this will not do, because I believe in being straight with you. This coffee isn't going to fix every problem overnight. If your testosterone is genuinely in the basement, and I see this a lot in men over 60, no amount of coffee is going to fully compensate for that. So my strong advice, and this is coming from 30 years of telling men the same thing, is to get your blood work done first. See your doctor, get your testosterone checked, get your blood sugar checked, get your cholesterol and your blood pressure checked. Know where you stand before you start trying to fix things blind. I also want you to take a hard, honest look at your lifestyle. Are you carrying extra weight around the middle? That alone wrecks testosterone production and vascular health. Are you stressed out of your mind? Chronic stress is poison for your hormones. Are you sleeping 5 hours a night? Sleep is when your body does most of its repair work, including hormone production. These factors matter more than any coffee additive. I'd be doing you a disservice if I pretended otherwise. And I want to give a word of caution about those fancy so-called potency coffees and herbal blends you see advertised online. A lot of them contain undisclosed ingredients, including prescription drugs that have been spiked in without being listed on the label. The FDA puts out warnings about this kind of thing regularly. Folks have ended up in the hospital because they took one of these products not knowing it contained a dose of something dangerous, especially if they were on heart medications or blood pressure pills. Stick with the single ingredients we talked about today from brands you trust, and always, always talk to your doctor before adding new supplements, especially if you have heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, or take medications regularly. Now, let me tell you about a patient I'll just call Frank because I think his story puts all of this in context. Frank came to me last year. He was 68, retired, good man, worked construction his whole life. He'd been married to his wife for 42 years, and he told me, frankly almost in tears, that things had been going downhill in the bedroom for about 3 years and he felt like he was letting her down. He'd tried a few of those pills with middling results and didn't love how they made him feel. We checked his numbers. His testosterone was a little low, but not terrible. His blood sugar was borderline. His blood pressure was okay. We talked about his diet, his sleep, his stress. He was carrying about 30 extra pounds around his middle. I gave him the same coffee recipe I just gave you. And we also worked on his diet and got him walking 45 minutes a day. No pills, no injections, just consistent basic changes. 3 months later, Frank came back in, and he looked like a different man. He'd lost about 20 pounds. His blood sugar had normalized. And he told me with a grin I won't forget that he and his wife were in a better place than they had been in a decade. That's the kind of result I see over and over when men commit to real foundational changes. It's not about one magic trick. It's about stacking small, smart habits until your body starts working for you again instead of against you. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. You have more power than you've been led to believe. The stuff the health industry often tries to sell you as complicated, expensive, and requiring some fancy specialist, a lot of it can be addressed by paying attention to what you put in your body, how you move, how you sleep, and how you manage stress. That's not me being dismissive of real medical problems. There are absolutely situations where you need prescription medication, surgery, or hormone therapy. But for a huge percentage of men, the foundation is lifestyle. And the foundation is often overlooked because nobody makes money telling you to drink better coffee and walk more. I want to leave you with one more thought before we wrap up. Aging doesn't mean giving up. I have patients in their 70s and 80s who have better intimate lives than guys I see in their 40s. The difference is they refuse to accept the narrative that getting older means shutting down. They stay engaged, they take care of their bodies, they stay curious, and they stay connected with their partners. That mindset matters just as much as anything you put in your coffee. So here's what I want you to do. Start with the coffee recipe. Give it 4 to 6 weeks of consistent use. While you're at it, schedule an appointment with your doctor and get your numbers checked. Start walking every day, even just 20 minutes. And pay attention to how you feel, not just in the bedroom, but overall. Energy, mood, focus, confidence, all of these things are connected. And when you start supporting the underlying systems, the benefits show up in ways you didn't expect. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know if you've tried any of these ingredients before, what your experience has been, and what questions you still have. I read every single comment I can, and I use your questions to decide what to cover in future videos. So if you've got something on your mind, put it down there. And if this video helped you, do me a favor and share it with a buddy who might need to hear it. A lot of guys our age don't talk about this stuff, and we should. There's no shame in wanting to feel good and stay connected to the people we love. That's what life is about. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Take care of each other. And I'll see you in the next one.